getting back to looking for Jack Kerouac. I love Duke. I know you love Duke.
I do.
Duke is a conspiracy theorist, and it's so interesting to read about him because he has conspiracy theories about Vietnam and about the Gulf of Tonkin, which we now know because Robert McNamara came out and said it was fabricated.
Yeah.
But he knows it at the time, and he also has suspicions about John F. Kennedy, which I don't know when the Zapruder film came out. I know it was 2 or 3 years later with Geraldo, of all people. So he's the one that at the time.
When I was still in high school and college and whatever, that was still a huge controversy about what really happened to JFK. And I don't think we'll ever know. I mean, there are a lot of really interesting ways of looking at it that seem feasible.
Do you have a theory?
I don't really. But I do think it's pretty, I mean, when you really look at what they say happened, it's pretty sketchy. I mean, it depends on a lot of, pretty sharp shooting and coincidences. And I don't know. I wouldn't, let's just say I wouldn't be surprised to find out if I found out that it had been something else. And, with the whole Vietnam thing, that was just, people lied. And that was so shocking. And I think for a lot of people in my generation, those lies and the things that happened were, I don't know, they just made people pretty cynical. Up until then, I think people pretty much believed in our country. And then they didn't. And the truth is, I don't think they ever probably should have, because I'll put myself way out on a limb right now, and I will say that it is hard for me to think that a country that was founded on the destruction of Native people and on slavery is ever going to really be okay. We haven't dealt with those problems. We have to deal with those problems if we're going to be a country that is even half of what we say we are. And for me, I'm writing about that, when I'm writing about An American Tune and when I'm writing about the Kerouac book and some other kinds of things too. And one thing that I love about young people is they keep asking those questions. People stop asking questions when they grow up. And another one of Kurt Vonnegut's great ones was, of course I can't put it exactly, but it was sort of like, writers are people who keep asking the same sophomoric questions that most people stop asking when they leave high school. Like, why? Why does it have to be that way? Why don't people tell the truth? Why are people so mean? And
it just kind of gets under your skin in a way it doesn't other people, that injustice and that unfairness that's inherent in the system.
It does. Yeah. I mean, I just can't not see it. I can't not see it. And I think that the good writers are people who can't not see things. We see things, we don't necessarily want to see things, and writing is a place to put them. Where are you going to put them? And those can be wonderful things too. Sometimes you can be so happy that you think you can't survive. And what are you supposed to do with that? I think writers are people who experience a really wide range of emotion, and writing brings balance. The writing helps balance you out, balances your life. That's what it does for me. I really need it. It's not something I do. I mean, I do love it, but it's more than I need it. And at some point in my life, I understood that. And I think, for people who want to be writers or think that they want to be writers, that's a question to ask yourself. Do you need it? Is it something that you really need to do? Are you going to get to the end of your life and ask yourself, did I do it? Didn't I do it? And am I sorry? I think you just have to be really brutally honest with yourself about a lot of stuff. And I think that's hard to do, but there you go.
I tell the people in my workshop that finishing your fiction class, you're finishing a novel, I tell them that if I can convince them to never write again, that they can just put that down and not be burdened by it and walk away free, that's more than justified the cost of admission. You're welcome. Enjoy your life.
You know what? I think you're absolutely right, because you're never not writing. I mean, and I don't mean it in a literal way, but wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you are slightly apart from everybody else, and you are watching, and you're taking in these things and trying to figure out, what they are and how to think about them. But I think writers are people who are always standing on the outside, and they're trying to figure things out. And if you're not that kind of person, and if you, you know, if you enjoy, if you don't need to write, don't feel like you have to. There's no law that said you have to just because you said you wanted to. I think a lot of people say they want to write before they really understand what writing is. And it's really, really hard. It's very hard. And publishing is even weirder, you know. You have to learn what you can control and what you can't control, and accept things when they don't go your way. It's not easy.
Have you been able to make peace with the publishing process?
Yes and no. I mean, I think I'm really fortunate. I've been able to publish 8 novels, and in good places. You know, some of them are New York novels. One was in Indiana University Press, and you know, they're good, respectable places. But I have never made any money from my novels. You know, I would be starving to death if I depended upon them for income. My novels get good reviews, but they don't sell a whole lot, and that's partly my own fault, because I'm not a good marketer. I don't know how to do it. It's against all my instincts, you know. I grew up in a family where my mom always said, don't brag, don't brag. And essentially marketing is bragging. You know, you put yourself out there, you try to get people to buy what you made. And that's just way out of my comfort level. And I don't think publishers do very much for books these days, if they ever did. You know, it's a dumb business. They throw all that stuff out there, and, you know, some stuff sinks, some stuff swims, and they have, you know, they put a lot of money into a very few books, every list. And that doesn't serve mid-list writers very well. You know, when I first started out, you could publish and you'd get, this would have been like 1980, a $5,000 advance. And there were a lot of those kinds of advances, and they were kind of an investment. You know, publishers would invest to see what would happen. But that's doesn't happen much anymore. And a lot of places don't give any advances at all. So it's a very difficult thing to decide to do. And I think almost everybody has to have a day job. I'm an idiot because I actually don't have to have a day job, because I have a fabulous spouse who's fine with me doing whatever I want to do. But part of why I have a day job is because that also balances things for me. You know, if I were only writing and I were only measuring my, I don't even like to use the word success, but you know what I mean. If I were only measuring myself with writing, it would be I would be more depressed than I am already. And, you know, when I'm doing something in the world that I know makes a difference to other people, and I know that I do it pretty well, that helps me balance that thing out. So I would say, yes, I have really made peace with it, but I don't really like it. You know, I think we all still wish that we'll have a book that will take off. And
sure,
that would be a really cool thing. But I'm getting kind of old for that, so I don't know. We'll see.
I wanted to say there's nothing idiotic about marrying. Well, I've done the same thing. Thank God.
It's good advice, you know. Don't marry another writer.
No, that's one thing we've decided within my writers group is like none of us could be married to each other. We all need non-writers, or we're in trouble.
Writers are so crazy, you know. They're up and down and up and down and up and down. Whereas if you marry like a regular person who really likes you and is really stable, and you know, it's not a bad idea.
I know that Barnes and Noble here, I'm going to get it wrong because I don't have the exact figure in front of me, but I believe they've gone through 5 CEOs in 4 years. And right now they're running their operations on a credit line, which is a terribly precarious position to be in. Back when I was in finance and advising people on stocks, I just had Barnes and Noble as the one to short. That one's going down.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, I don't know the future. I really hope that I'm wrong, but sooner or later, I think Barnes & Noble probably will go the way of Borders, and then we'll have independent bookstores. Yeah. What do you think the future looks like for writers and for publishing?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's really sad that we should have a good independent bookstore here in Indianapolis. We're a big city. We should have one. We don't. And that's really pathetic. And the chains, I mean, it's wonderful to have a Barnes and Noble, but they have their own thing. You know, the way they buy, the way they sort of manipulate writers and publishers. That's not so good either. People don't like Amazon, but on the other hand, for writers like me and for you too, our books are not going to be in Barnes and Noble and the chain stores. Are yours?
Yeah.
Oh, yours are. Well, good for you. That's great. But you know, mine don't go on there because my sales don't have a good sales history. So like when Jack Kerouac came out, they didn't take it. They didn't choose to take it. So the only place you can get my books is Amazon. So I have mixed feelings about, you know, how evil Amazon is, because without Amazon, my books would not be available at all. I don't know, you know, I think electronic books I thought were awful until I started reading on my Kindle, and I'm fine reading on my Kindle. I love reading on my Kindle. I don't mind. I also love the library. I honestly, I don't know. I think it's just such a really weird time in the world right now. It's hard to predict how anything's going to be. And I do think, you know, young people have a lot more, and older people have a lot more options than they used to have. You know, reading was one of a few options you might have when I was growing up. But now, you know, you've got your phone, you can watch a movie whenever you want. You've got video games, you've got everything in the world that will take up your time. And reading is not necessarily what a lot of kids are choosing. So, well, what I don't know is how many people ever read. You know, we get into that thing where we say, oh, you know, people used to be this and that. But yeah, you know, I don't know that many people that read when I was growing up. So maybe I hope there will always be a community of serious readers, and there will always be books for them, I hope.
So long as they sign up and become members at the Indiana Writers Center.
That's right. Well,
like I only hear locally what happens.